Well, hello everybody. Pastor Randy here. Great to be with you today on Making It Simple. Hope you're doing great and your day is finding you well wherever you are. I want to thank you for joining me first and foremost. We're really trying to do something here, friends. The simple, clear truth is one of the things seems to be missing in this world today. We got a whole lot of complicated stuff out there. Don't get me wrong. You can find a ton of that. And you find a lot of stuff that's not true. You can find a lot of stuff that's true, but so hard to understand. I want to meet you at the kitchen table. I want to meet you at the breakfast nook and just sit and let's just talk like normal people. That's what we do here at Making It Simple. It's from heart to heart. I think that's important. We've been talking about our ways, watching our ways. Why does that matter? Oftentimes we get pulled away and drawn into a lot of different attitudes in the world today. I don't care what anybody says about me. I don't care what anybody thinks about what I do. And we get trapped into that because it's like a statement. It's like a boldness that says, I can do this, I can do that. Well, even the Bible says that. Paul writes about that and says all things are permissible. All things are lawful, depending on where you read it from. But basically what that says is you can do whatever you want. It's just that not all things are beneficial. Not all things are helpful. So why does that matter? Why does it matter what we do? Why do my ways matter? Because if you've come to know Christ, if you've come to accept Jesus, what he's done for you, and you are now a follower, a believer of Christ, your call has a higher responsibility. My call has a higher responsibility, not just because I'm a pastor, but because I said yes to Jesus. Therefore, now, unlike one who does not know him, my ways have an impact. Now, you may think, well, I'm nobody. Nobody pays me any attention. Way more than you think. Way more than you think. If you're not watching your ways, I promise you somebody else is. Why does this matter? Let's go to Matthew chapter 16. Jesus is talking to Peter. Peter has just now said to him, you are the Christ. You are the Son of God. You are the one. I mean, he answered that very, very clearly, all right? And Jesus talked to him and says, I'm going to build the church upon this rock and on so and on so. But here's a key phrase, and this is what we're going to build on a little bit today. Jesus said to him, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Now, I want you to think about that a minute. Let's read that again. Matthew 16 and verse 19. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Now, I want you to think about that for just a minute. I want you to think about that. We need to realize now that Jesus is not just talking to Peter here. He's talking to me and you. If indeed you today are a believer, a follower of Christ, you and what you do, me and what I do, has an impact. Our ways matter because we have the keys to the kingdom of heaven. What does one with a key have the ability to do? Open a door or keep it locked? You see, I have the key to my office. I get to determine who goes in there and who doesn't. I have the key to my house. I get to know and I get to control who comes in, who doesn't. We, as believers, we have the opportunity. We don't get to control who comes in or out of heaven. A lot of people want to think that they do because, boy, oh boy, the more I watch some of these videos of stuff these people are teaching, they think that they have the literal keys in that they can say yes or no. Our ways, however, open that door or keep that door closed in one's mind or one's heart. Because what we do and how we reflect the things of Christ, in other words, our ways, it either makes someone want to go to that door or stay far, far away from it. I had an old pastor challenge me several years ago, and he said, Pastor, he said, what's better than going to heven? And I said, well, nothing. I mean, that's like it, right? That's the greatest thing ever. He said, no, there's one thing that's better. One thing. I said, I'm going to give you a few days to think about it. I don't want to give you the answer yet. I want to give you a few days to think about it. And then come back and we'll talk again. Now, this was a gentleman that had been pastoring forever. He may have been, one of the ones to hold the candle for Moses to write. I don't know, but seriously, it was words of wisdom, and it made me think. And I never could come to the conclusion of what could possibly be better. And the answer was so simple. The answer, as we got back together a couple of days later, he said, "You think about it?" I said, "Yes, sir." And I can't think of anything that could possibly be better, because that's the ultimate. I mean, that's it. Every believer, that's our desire, is to be with the Lord forever. He said, absolutely. I said, but there's one thing better. Taking somebody with you. Changed my entire perspective of how I looked at my ways. I want to share that with you. Our ways matter. Jesus said, I give to you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. As I said earlier, if you're not watching your ways, I can absolutely assure you somebody else is. If we openly profess to be a follower and believer of Christ, it changes our responsibility from one that is without knowledge to one that is with. In other words, if I'm going to be a reflection, if I am going to be, as I've been created to be, the image of God, if I'm going to be the reflection of Christ to my peers, to my coworkers, to my family, to the stranger that I've never met before, but I'm walking down the street or I'm walking in through the aisle of a store, who do they see? Me or him? Now, some are going to think, well, Pastor, wait a minute now. I know you're saying we have to be willing to let him show what we do, and I get that. That makes a lot of sense. The fact that my ways matter maybe makes a little bit more sense now than I thought that it did. But we live in a really hard world. And that's really, really hard to do. Living a godly life in this world is a challenge. But is it? Because if it's really who you are, if that's really what's coming out of your heart, Proverbs says that wise ones hold their tongues. In other words, our words matter, our thoughts, what comes out, our actions matter. If we will be mindful of our ways, in other words, how I do it and why I do it, if we will process those things through the understanding, wait a minute, I've got the keys to the kingdom of heaven. In other words, what I do can have such an impact on the life of another that they'll want to go with me, which is the greatest thing ever. The one thing that's greater than going by myself is taking somebody else with me. I am absolutely convinced of this, friends. When our time comes and we step into eternity, when that day comes, and it will come, for all followers of Christ, for everyone that has said yes to Jesus, our greatest reward will not be those things that have been not built by the hands of man, but by rather the hands of God, or the streets of gold or mansions or any of the things that we've been told, the walls of jasper and all those pearl gates. That'll all be beautiful. The splendor will be unimaginable. I believe this with all my heart. Our greatest reward when we get to heaven are those that we influence and that they're there too. That one that will walk up to you and say, thank you. Thank you for telling me about Jesus. That's why I'm here today. The keys to the kingdom of heaven. Wow. Our ways matter. One more time. If you're not watching your ways, I promise you somebody else is. God bless you, friends. I hope you have a great, great rest of the day, rest of the week, and Lord willing, we'll be right back here on Monday with more Making It Simple.